All right, y'all. So this is chapter 10 to really the completion of the book. This is my reaction to Who's Watching Shorty, Rashona Landfair story. Reclaiming myself from the shame of R. Kelly's abuse. So this second half of the book is really when she starts to gain her first anger and disappointment in R. Kelly, and then self-worth, respect. She finally starts to push back against R. Kelly's rules, like no longer calling him daddy and calling him Robert. Starting to dress the way she chose to dress, because there was a time when he told her to dress a certain way and not ever talk to men, and things of that sort. She was pushing back and started to be rebellious against his rules, and she became a liability. So he basically began to edge her out. She had one friend that she was able to rely on, along with her parents. And she got to a point where she was ready to tell the truth. She was ready to speak up and tell everything that she had gone through. She told her parents that she did not want to continue lying, and her dad was on board with whatever she wanted to do. Mom, it took her a little while to get to that place because she had been living in denial for so long. So she eventually did the right thing and snitched on R. Kelly. Some of the things that started to wake her up was she ended up getting a dog, and seeing the dog's captivity and urge to want to get out and be free, that kind of opened her eyes. Also, R. Kelly put her with one of his other women that he was dealing with. I guess they went on a shopping trip, and that woman started to speak life into Rashona as well, letting her know that she had more power than she thought she had. Started to empower her. Girl, you could do what I do, just do it. Her literally seeing her peers pass her by. When I think about it, Rashona probably had a bit of arrested development. She was probably still at the emotional level of that 12-year-old girl, because her whole world was him. She wasn't around to learn some of life's lessons and independence and some of the adult skills that her peers may have learned. You know what else is really trippy about this book? Rashona now is 41. I just turned 40. So we were about the same age when all of this happened. And it really didn't dawn on me before until I found that out. And I'm just like, wow. When you think of where your mind state was at, some of the negative relationships you were in, some of the things that influenced you to make negative choices, it's just like, dang, so many women could have been Rashona. When you think of the grooming, Sparkle was a part of grooming her. I don't think that, because I spoke about this in the last one, but I want to make sure that I'm very clear that I think that although I understand that the lesson she was teaching Rashona is a lesson that most girls go through, of, the power of your femininity and getting the things you want or getting certain perks in life. I don't condone what she does. It was unacceptable. It was foul. It was wrong. It was grooming. Asking this young girl to sit on this man's lap. She's never sat on this man's lap before. Young girls should not be sitting on a strange man's lap. Should barely be sitting on their relative's lap, quiet as it's kept. However, I don't think she did it with the intent for her niece to be sexually abused. I think that Sparkle is the type of personality that is willing to go far for money, fame, and clout. I do think she has levels to that, but she's willing to do a little something, maybe sleep with somebody, whatever, to get to the top. And I think some of the stories that she was telling Rashona, just even giving Rashona the lessons of like keeping your hoo-ha shaved and clean and pretty, so that when she's ready to start using it, you will be ready, so you won't have to get ready, type of deal. Or wanting to be that it girl and showing Rashona that she's that it girl, and talking to Rashona about the different escapades she's had with different men after she got divorced. All of these was putting ideas into Rashona's head. And it's tough because later on, Rashona wanted her aunt to really just care about her and not be so surface, but so much damage had also happened from this whole situation. And it's tough too, because when it comes to a abuse victim, they have to also be ready for help. She spoke of wanting Sparkle to see her and to be concerned about her. However, when Sparkle was doing that, Rashona wasn't ready for the help and rejected it. And that's where it gets a little tough with abuse victims, because they also have to be ready to receive the help, because it can put that other person in a tight spot, because the abuse victim might tell the abuser, now that other person's being punished, penalized. You know, Sparkle lost her entire career. So it's a tough situation all around. Same with Rashona's dad. He had let it go on way too long. I'm glad they actually did have a talk, have a heart-to-heart. His dad apologized to her in his own way. And he simply, he let her know like why he was able to eventually justify it was because his mother dated somebody much older and married that person. So that was his way of justifying it. That plus he had always grew up being a bit of a coward. So they had that heart to heart before her dad died. But once again, once the dad found out in a way that he could not turn a blind eye to it. In that moment, Rashona's 17 and fully engulfed in this and does not want the help. You know, she followed R. Kelly's lies and told her parents that she was going to kill herself. So it's a tough situation, and the victim, like I said, the victim has to be ready for the change. They have to choose change. I imagine Rashona is going to have effects from this for the rest of her life. You know, I'm sure it affects how she's parenting her son. But I'm glad she spoke up. One, because I'm kind of nosy. I be wanting to know what happened. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. But also because it's going to help a lot of other domestic violence victims, a lot of other child abuse victims. So it's great to see how her life has turned around, how she's advocating for others. All in all, I really enjoyed Who's Watching Shorty, and I recommend it. And I hope R. Kelly stays in jail for the rest of his life. And although he was groomed as well, he became a very sick individual. Anyway, that's my review of Who's Watching Shorty. Let me know what you think.